Nattie has a major announcement as Lex Luger is the latest inductee for the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of No Holds Barred. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Postmedia wrestling writer Jan Murphy and his Elimination Chamber hoodie, still holding on to that incredible night a couple of weeks ago. We were also joined by WWE Superstar Nattie Neidhart, whose bi-weekly columns you can find exclusively at the Toronto Sun. And Nattie joining us from the Big Apple, New York City today, where she has made a major announcement. Nattie, floor is yours. What do the people need to know?
So I have announced that I am writing a book, and it's been something I've been working on and wanting to do for a long time. And I just felt like, there's no real right time to ever because I'd been putting it off and being like, I want to do it, and part of me was just kind of scared to kind of bite the bullet and just pull the trigger on it because I was thinking for a while, like, is my life, I know I've got a lot of, you know, I know I've got a lot of information and a lot of material and a lot of meat on the bone, but do I really want to go there and like totally just open it up? And that's the thing is that like, while I've been writing this book, I've realized that so many people don't actually know my story. While I've done a ton of interviews, while I do a lot of press and media, of course, and I've been with WWE for almost 2 decades, there's a lot of what WWE wants, what you've seen out there in the world of like, it's not like what they want the world to see of me, but there's only so much of me that, from a television standpoint, from a Total Divas standpoint, a lot of it, has been it's me, but it's very filtered, so to speak, in the sense that of course, there's lots of stuff that I wasn't able to share, and lots of stuff that I wasn't comfortable sharing, and lots of stuff that maybe at the time wasn't the right place to share. And so in writing this book, and I've been journaling for a long time, and I'm so happy that I've done that because at the start of my career, Bret Hart had told me that's what he did for in his career. He, from a very early point in his career, he would talk into like a little like just a little tape recorder, and he saved all those recordings. And I always remembered him telling me to do that. And so after I would wrestle, and after my matches, and after big moments, and after just after shows, you'd get to the hotel and you'd be alone, or you'd be on a plane and you'd have hours of travel. I would write. I had journals, and so I have thousands and thousands of journal entries from 18 years of working in WWE. And I've realized that there's just so much that I have not shared about myself, and so much that I've not shared about my life, and stuff that I've been so scared to share, and afraid of what people might think, and how it might be received. And then I realized in writing this book that I think that's the best stuff, is when you are open, and it's definitely a different kind of vulnerability, but it's my story could truly be a guidebook, or a lifeline, or a blessing to somebody else's journey, where they go, wow, I didn't know how I was going to get through that, but like this inspired me, or I'm going through the same thing, or I had no idea about that, or because there's a lot, like, especially with my dad and his life, and our relationship, there's a lot that I've never shared with people before. And so I think it'll open up some really powerful conversations that I've never had publicly with people, but like it'll also, I think, be very, very therapeutic for a lot of people that may have been going through the same thing. So yes, I'm excited to share it. I've had this incredible journey in WWE, which is still going. And that's kind of like, even for the title of the book, it's called The Last Heart Beating. It's a very poetic title, in the sense that when I got to the end, because I didn't know what the title would be until I got to the end. And then I realized, when I was writing the last chapter, I was like, wow, like, what I realized is that I am still standing. I'm still here. I'm still doing this. I'm the one that wasn't supposed to make it in my family. It was like the girl that nobody really saw like succeeding, in the sense that like it was, my family's just been, it's all been men. And I'm the one that's still in WWE, still actively wrestling, still standing, still doing this. And it's nothing, again, it's nothing against anybody else in my family, but like, 18 years in the biggest wrestling company in the world, and like I didn't like I'm still here and I'm still doing this, and I'm, as Booker T said one time, Booker T did an interview and he was asked about me and he said, Nattie Neidhart, she's the last mother effer breathing. I won't say the F word, but he said that. He goes, and it's that Tupac song, and I'm gonna say that, and Booker's gonna get put on the spot, but that's also a derivative of where this title came from. Was that song "Breathing"? That's the title. Like, it's, I'm the last one standing, the last mother effer breathing, the last heart beating. So I'm excited. I'm so excited, and I think everybody's gonna love the book. It's really like it's a passion project for me.
Well, Nattie, I've always found you to be an open book. I guess, my questions would be, do you delve into some of the darker parts of your life, the Owen Hart situation, the situation with your dad and his struggles? Do you go there with some of those things? Brett with his injuries and troubles.
Yes, we do. We go there with all of it. And it was scary for me to write it because I was like, oh, I want to make sure that I protect everyone. I want to make sure everybody looks good. And then I was just like, I just need to say what I feel and just, be what I need to be, and tell my side of the story, and tell and that's the thing I loved about Becky Lynch's book, is that she had a disclaimer in the very beginning of her book. I loved Becky's book. I was really inspired by Becky's book, actually. Becky is one of the reasons why I wanted to write a book. But she said in the very beginning of the book, she said, this is how I saw it. This is this is the way that I viewed it. And if it's not the way that you saw it, or if you don't agree with it, or if it's not, this is just how I saw it. So, basically she's like, this is my version. And so, yes, I talk a lot about, we go into all those things within my family, everything. And, it was very therapeutic for me writing it. It makes me even emotional talking about it, but it was very therapeutic for me writing it. But it just made me realize, like, everything that we went through in our family has just made me so much stronger. And I'm still standing. Like, I'm still here living all of this, but like, you don't ever, there's a lot of loss, especially in our family. And some of that pain never really goes away. You just learn how to kind of cope with it. Again, like, the book can be a handbook for somebody else's survival in their life. And so that's why I was like, Nattie, you just have to pull the trigger and write it. So it's very special to me. Very sorry to get
Yeah.
emotional.
No, it's an emotional time, and like you said, it's very therapeutic. It's a remarkable story, of course, yours and your family, and I think a lot of people are really excited to hear you share it. So yeah, we'll be keeping an eye out for that for sure, and we'll be talking a lot more about it, I'm sure, as we get closer to the release. Jan, we saw last week another major announcement. This one by WWE. Lex Luger is set to join the 2025 Hall of Fame class, and for me, you can't talk about 80s wrestling, you can't talk about 90s wrestling without talking about the total package, his work in WCW, his work with Sting, the Four Horsemen, up against the NWO, of course, and as the narcissist in WWF. It hasn't always been sunshine and rainbows for Luger, a lot of dark times in his life, but clearly he's done an incredible job of trying to turn his life around. What did you make of the news when you saw it?
Well, two personal things came to mind. I was talking with Diamond Dallas Page just a couple of weeks ago, saying we'd like to get him to come on this show to talk about what he's been doing with Luger. This was before the announcement. And in 2019, we were talking before we started the show today. I run a wrestling promotion. We do Legends events every once in a while. We had a problem where Arn Anderson missed a flight, and Lex Luger bailed us out and drove up.
Wow.
Somebody drive him up from, I think he lives in the Buffalo area, and he drove all the way to Kingston and filled in. So, I mean, again, you can't talk about a guy who was bigger, both physically and metaphorically at one time in his career. I saw him more in the later part of his career in WWE, because I, really have been a true WWE fan from the beginning of my life. Like, I don't watch other stuff as much as other people did. I wasn't a big WCW guy. I knew about it, but I was like the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I was so loyal to WWE. You couldn't even get me to watch other products. But yeah, great announcement. Actually, one I didn't really see coming. So, and the class is pretty strong now.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, like actually hearing that story, Jan, is really cool about him driving in and doing the show, because that's the one thing I love about your shows is that you support the legends. And like you've always been, even when my dad was alive, Jan was so supportive of my dad. And I actually wanted Jan to write a book on my dad. And so Jan actually has the last like real recordings of my dad, like
Yeah.
hours and hours of recording. Sorry, Jan, I'm totally putting you on the spot. But I think Jan is such an incredible journalist. And so Jan, there was a point where I really wanted Jan to work on something with my dad because he's so good with legends. And of course, you know, I think my dad wasn't in the right headspace at that time to do that, but that's okay. But I just love how supportive you are of the legends, and hearing that Lex had done your show makes me so happy because it's so important that people, you know, we've seen Lex go through a lot. And so I know, you know, you read online, there's, you know, there's, of course there's going to be mixed feelings about certain things because Lex has had highs and lows. But he's turned his life around. And I think that like there's something to be said about when you see somebody in a really dark place where Lex had been, and he's an open book. He's admitted that he's been in, you know, he had been through a lot, especially with some controversial things that had happened. And of course, you know, he's spoken about all of it, but to
Yeah.
now see where he's at, that he's really turned his life around, and I believe in second chances. I really do. And like I love when we come together and support people that have turned their lives around, and they do deserve a second chance. And so I think this is such a incredible story, and I think it's something that everybody can really rally behind, is that, you know, us not only supporting legends, but supporting somebody that many years ago thought that his whole life was over because of mistakes that he had made. And that it's a great lesson that it's never too late to turn it around. And you know, I think that this is just such a great story of hope. And Lex getting inducted is, I feel like it's a lot about hope more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty excited to hear that speech from him in about a month's time. Before we let you go, Nattie, we've seen at Raw the last few weeks that Maxxine Dupri has sought you out for some help and your expertise. And to be honest, from my perspective, it seems as though you're a bit hesitant to, you know, put it lightly. How do you see things from your end?
So I think Maxine is a sweetheart. She's just somebody that, like, from the very first time I met her when she came up to the main roster, she's just always been so respectful, so polite, so engaging, and she really cares. Like, she cares about her look, she cares about her ring gear. She cares so much about what she's doing on like her whole total package, so to speak. As far as like, you know, it's not just enough to be good at one thing in WWE. You have to be good in the ring, good on the mic. Your presentation has to look great. You know, you have to be willing um to broaden your storyline. She's great with all of that. I think I mean I'm definitely interested in working with her. I do think that like things take time though, because for me, in the past you've seen me with so many different tag team partners. You know, you've seen me, and I feel like that happens a lot, especially because I've been in WWE for almost 20 years, the longest of any female ever to like uninterrupted 20 years. So it's been wonderful. But like for me, I think it's about timing, and it's about, you know, I know she is asking me for help, but I'm also very like, it's just the stars have to sort of align. And so while I'm open to helping anyone really, I mean, especially in the WWE family, but I also just I feel like with Maxine, it's about, you know, making sure that, you know, our timing is good. And for me to really be, I think, open to helping people, I need her to show me in a lot of ways what she's been working on and how much she wants it. And it's a lot for me, as Jan knows, because Jan knows me well. It's a lot for me about like the ring stuff too. Like, you know, I know she's been doing some training at Flatbacks, and she's been at the Performance Center, and so that's fantastic. But for me, like the wrestling aspect is really important. So I'm very curious to see about what she's been working on, and you know, how much she really wants it. But anyway, I love Maxine. I respect her, and I am definitely open to growing with her in the future as long as she's willing to do the work.
You want my 2 cents? Given everything that we've talked about today, how we started this show, you and Maxine I think we should book it.
Very well said.
Well, you
That's a
are a
great way to end
booker,
it.
so I trust Jan's judgment. But Maxxine is great, though. She's really such a sweetheart.
Yeah, she really seems like she's great, and we'll see how often she keeps asking for your help, because she seems pretty, in a spot where she needs it right now, and she's looking for the best, and that's why we have you on here, Nattie. Thanks so much for the time today. Enjoy the time in New York City. Jan, appreciate it as always. I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.